Good day. This is being filmed hours after our new moon in Capricorn conjoined Pluto. On the East Coast, it was just a minute after midnight last night. On the West Coast, it was in the early morning today. Energy of this new moon, well, it's pretty darn heavy. It's very real, very no nonsense, very no bullshit. This is Capricorn, this is Pluto. And what we're also being introduced to here is this is Saturn in Aquarius, ruling this new moon in Capricorn. Saturn will be in Aquarius the next 2.5 years. So we're having this theme being introduced where here Saturn in Aquarius is scrutinizing. Scrutinizing can be very, very judgmental, skeptical, especially of humanity, groups. There's this issue with caste that comes up with Saturn and Aquarius. So Aquarius, the shadow of which can be pretentiousness, can be coming out of this period where there is, again, all of this scrutiny and all of this intensity. Now, as hopefully we're understanding as students of astrology and nature, Saturn is not a bad guy. Although Saturn provides challenges, hurdles, obstacles, it's not neither good or bad. This is what we are using these next 2.5 years. This is what we have to learn to use in a healthy, harmonious way. So on this new moon, joined with Pluto in Capricorn, this is a time of transition of power, but also coming into our own necessary power and authority. And so in this video, I plan to share a part of, what I do. I feel a need, honestly, to self-announce more of what I actually do as a way of being recognized and being known and giving that permission to myself to continue to do and to prove what I do and prove. Because after this last year, I've learned that this it's probably not going to be provided by others, so I will go ahead and provide it myself. And I also, a huge part of what I consider a service that I offer through these videos is a critique of the New Age and spiritual movements. Okay, so we can use this scrutinizing in useful, helpful ways, and my hope is that we do this, and that the astrological community develops these next couple of years. A good critique, by the way, does not just tear down or complain, but provides constructive solutions and feedback. I think that astrologers are in possession of some of the most useful knowledge that exists in the world. It's lost by our society and world, and yet astrologers consistently fail to translate this knowledge into something practically beneficial to the world that is really measurable, that is concrete, that is obvious, where the proof is in the pudding. And this is what astrology should be, and this is where I believe we can take astrology in the future if we work together. The other issue with astrology, of course, is that a lot of the benefit of astrology is hidden or not seen by, the majority of the world due to the occult nature of astrology. People don't believe it's possible, and so it doesn't exist in people's conscious mind. So a lot of the real benefit of astrology is simply behind the scenes. And again, my hope is that this is not going to be in the long term. We really need this technology in medicine. Now, I've received quite a bit of feedback in my last video. These are very, very political and exciting times. And so I need to make a statement here about what I do. What are the actual services that I offer? Well, my YouTube videos is just one particular service. This is basically where I put out free material as an offering to the collective and also as a way of letting people know that I exist. My YouTube offerings are the astrology of the times. And astrology is very objective. We look at the ingredients, we look at the dynamics, very scientifically, and that is paired with my commentary and personal suggestions. All of my videos will be astrology paired with my commentary and personal suggestions, period. Any astrologer provides this. There is no astrologer that provides astrology that does not mix with their personal opinion and commentary. The same way you will never go to a therapist that will be able to remove themselves from their therapy. So my commentary, my voice, and my opinion is very, very much a part of my therapy, a part of my service, and a part of what I continue to intend to provide in my videos. So obviously I've received criticism about sharing my political opinion at the times, and I need to be very forward here. Only a total coward would ignore making a statement or sharing their opinion about the times. The only reason a person would ignore sharing their personal opinion, being an influencer or an astrologer, having their face on YouTube, is being afraid of losing some following members. It just comes out of pure cowardice. And most of these pop astrologers that don't put out their opinion, that don't really do it, they're not saying anything. I mean, the vast majorities of so-called astrologers are not, to me, authentic astrologers. They don't really say anything. They don't really have an authentic voice or share their own authentic logic or personal reasoning. So more of a talking head, and this is a phenomenon. Now, in this actual time, this circumstance, these dynamics that are being triggered are exposing really, really important phenomenon. Not phenomenon that's just being exposed now. These are dynamics I have been addressing for years. So no, this is not a political opinion. My critique of the New Age movement is addressing this group that is full of willful psychosis, delusional cult leaders, narcissists without any self-awareness, full of misogyny, ableism, manipulation, and abuse of power. I have experienced these dynamics. I've experienced this phenomenon through my working as an astrologer, through my affiliation with other so-called astrologers and other so-called New Age teachers. I mean, there's an alarming amount of bullshit and abuse. And what this whole phenomenon with Donald Trump, the QAnon cult, is it is exposing these dynamics that have already been there for years. Phenomenon I have already seen and addressed and spoken to for years. Time and time again. So no, I'm not going to ignore what's going on in the world, the headlines, what everybody's talking about, and what's going on at the times to hide my wisdom and knowledge that comes from personal experience. And yes, my personal opinion and suggestions are a big part of this. Now I'm going to quote from an excellent journalist, B. Schofield. And B. Schofield, check her out, Google her name, has been a cult buster, guru buster in the New Age movement for years. So again, this is nothing new. This is a dynamic that's existed for years and years that's just now being exposed, thankfully. She posted on Facebook yesterday, "Are you shocked many spiritual folk have latched onto Donald Trump as their savior and adopted QAnon ideas? I'm not. He will be their third or fourth narcissistic guru or cult leader. The zeal, divine belief, purpose, tribe, truth, light, Messiah. Same shit, new daddy." The actual dynamic being exposed and revealed by this phenomenon, not just in the United States political system, but throughout the world and within the spiritual New Age movements, is a dynamic between grandiose narcissists and cult following. Okay? The cult following are codependents that depend upon a grandiose narcissist to create their reality. Now here's the point. There is a real supernatural magnetism that surrounds grandiose narcissists. They really do seem Messiah-like. They really do seem God-like. We can have an automatic magnetic propensity to say that person is a star. That person is a leader. That is the effect of a grandiose narcissist, period. Now, there are particular people that are susceptible to the manipulation, the magnetic effect, the near supernatural manipulation of a grandiose narcissist. This is a real phenomenon. Codependents and narcissists attract one another like magnets. Narcissists are also attracted to other narcissists like magnets. And that actually makes sense if you think about it, understanding the core dynamics of narcissism. So these are the underlying dynamics. It's not even personal. It's not a matter of right and wrong. It's not a matter of what political system or president. No. These are the dynamics I've been addressing for years. And this is why the cult of Donald Trump. This is why the QAnon cult. Yes, this is my personal opinion. You can agree with it or not, but it comes from objective seeing. Not me just watching the news or whatever excuse will be projected upon me by those who disagree with what I say. The other major dynamics being exposed and revealed by all of this going on in the world is that this is all PTSD response. People form different unconscious coping mechanisms to their PTSD response, some of which is a near Stockholm syndrome to those abusers that we experienced early in our life. The sexual abuse from the father, the abuse from the narcissistic dad, the mean boss or authority. There can be a Stockholm syndrome type of PTSD response. A true grandiose narcissist cannot admit to themselves that they are a narcissist. They can't really have self-awareness. They don't really become aware of the manipulative magnetic dynamics inherent within themselves, because a grandiose narcissist must live in a fantasy world. This fantasy world is created so that way the grandiose narcissist can receive dependable amounts of narcissistic supply, which means the praise, the upliftment, the recognition from the cult. A grandiose narcissist is simply a drug addict to narcissistic supply. So the point here is that a grandiose narcissist and a codependence and a cult depend on one another. They form the relationship between one another. This is why we're seeing what we're seeing in the world. It's not a matter of, oh, just recognize this and break this down. This is a dependency, an unconscious dependency that has its roots in childhood abuse and PTSD. It's not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon. This is the general sweeping the board phenomenon that we can clearly observe and see through comparing case studies, gathering data, and then seeing that, yes, this is a pattern, a very common, a very widespread pattern and phenomenon. We are waking up to the actual reality of human consciousness. We live in a mental health pandemic. Now, my work is, again, exposing such dynamics in the New Age movement to end abuse. My devotion is towards, ending this crisis here, this harm reduction. Part of how I do this is through transparency of my own dynamics, my own shadow, my own struggles. I'm very passionate about doing this because I've already learned and observed my fellow grandiose narcissist cult leaders and learned that this is what they fundamentally do not do. They cannot admit their shadow. They cannot admit their struggles. They have to be a messiah. They have to live in a fantasy world. Well, I would have the propensity to be one of those people. I could be that cult leader, couldn't I? I have that type of charm and magnetism and intellect and well-spoken capability. I could nail that shit if I wanted to. But I have too much self-awareness to be that corrupt, to be that abusive, to be that manipulative. And so my own transparency is a part of my service and work to expose these abusive dynamics in the cult of the New Age movement. Now, this has already cost me people. My own vulnerability, people will use against me sometimes. People will throw shade at me through being honest about my own struggles. Like, oh, you struggle with this. And it's just like, yeah, I am. I am a human. I am not a messiah. But I would far rather choose this path of being an actual human being and not a messiah, because it is such a less destructive journey than the typical cult leader who goes into this dimension of having to create this fantasy world and then lie, and then you deceive, and then when people find out, oh my gosh, he's not a messiah, he's a human being, just like all the rest of us, that person gets torn down, that person gets exposed. So that's the abuse. typical cult leader who avoids and denies and suppresses their shadows are the ones that get possessed by those shadows and end up doing creepy, behind-the-scenes, abusive things. So, such dynamics operate in the dark, and what I recommend, therefore, is we need to be transparent and bring all of our stuff out there into the light. Then we can be effective organizers, leaders, YouTubers, etc. But otherwise, we're just more superficial narcissists. We're just more bypassing New Agers that are just trying to keep everybody happy instead of addressing the actual underlying dynamics, the way that I am here and today, because that's my work. The other work that I do, of course, is astrology. And here's the point. I've been so disappointed by my experiences with other New Agers, other astrologers, what I've experienced in the astrological community. I mean, it's been one of the most sad, disappointing, painful things I've ever lived in my life. But I can't escape it because astrology is real. It works. It is ahead of our time. I don't see many people use it very effectively, but if it were used effectively, we would see that astrology is one of the most powerful medicines available to humanity at this time. So here's the point where I have to self-acknowledge. The astrology readings that I offer, and I offer one-on-one personal readings, and I can't do this all the time for everybody because I have limited energy, etc. But my one-on-one readings are designed to be once-in-a-lifetime meetings where there's a before and an after, and this person is changed permanently through the rest of their life by providing for this person an amount of self-recognition, self-affirmation, confidence to continue to be their unique nature that nobody else has ever provided them, let alone a stranger who they've never even had a conversation with before. That's the astrology. That's the power of the astrology. The power of astrology is to save people's lives. We live in a world and a society that does not acknowledge our unique nature. Astrology can acknowledge our unique nature, our path throughout life, why we have the experiences that we do, why we have the struggles that we do, why we suffer, how we can end this suffering is all reflected back through astrology. It is a groundbreaking, earth-shattering medicine that is far beyond what I see the so-called teachers and talking heads giving out there in the world. So my YouTube videos, this is a service acknowledging the times, providing my suggestions, but on a deeper level, what I would like to do is be a teacher of astrology and help to deliver this level of effective astrology that measurably, obviously, concretely changes people's lives to where there is a before and an after we had astrology in our life, because before astrology, it's like we're lost in the dark. And after astrology, we've got a flashlight, we've got a map, we know what we're going, we no longer feel crazy, we no longer feel afraid, we no longer feel alone. This is the most powerful medicine I've ever encountered in my entire life of doing nothing besides search for pioneering medicines. So the power, the healing, and the effectiveness of astrology cannot be underestimated. That's my work. That's my service. Thank you for hearing me out. Thanks for being a part of these times. And I look forward to New Moon in Capricorn today. Let's get to work. Let's make shit actually work in our world. Let's stop being delusional, out there talking about things, dreaming about things. I hear this all day long from the New Age community. Everybody's got a dream. Everybody's got a vision. That's awesome. I want to start making it real. I look forward to collaborating and working with you all in the near future. As always, take care.